In a glass lobby, a security guard humiliates a soaked delivery rider by dumping his hot meal onto the floor. A facilities manager risks a write-up and her bonus to intervene, ushering him into a staff break room and quietly restoring his dignity. The moment ripples through the building, nudging policies and habits, as a small, persistent light replaces a cold rule. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And hey, where are you tuning in from? Leave your country in the comments. I love seeing how far these stories reach. The bowl of noodles hit the marble tile with a wet slap. Red oil sprayed across the glass of the café case. Steam fogged the security guard's lenses, and he pushed his frames up with 2 fingers. "Not for you," he said. He flicked the delivery helmet aside with the edge of his shoe. Chopsticks skittered across the floor. People slowed, looked, then sped up again like rain finding a faster path. The young man with a soaked hoodie and a courier bag flinched and backed up. His hands went up, empty, palms out. The smell of garlic and broth climbed into the lobby and mixed with the lemon cleaner they used every morning. The guard pointed at the revolving door. "Out." His voice was steady, not loud. It still carried. She stood near the service corridor with a binder and a paper cup. Her radio crackled in her ear. "Investor walk through in 10, someone said." She stared at the noodles, bright orange on white stone, already sliding into the grout. She knew the policy: no non-tenants in the café, no rider gear in the lobby, keep the glass shiny. She had typed those words last month, line by line, after a flood of angry emails about wet floors and brand experience. She knew the guard's company contract. She knew her general manager's temper. She looked up at the mezzanine where the GM would appear with the investors. She pictured the stops on the tour: lobby art, new terrazzo, roof garden. Her name was on that plan. There was a bonus at the end of it. Rent was due in 6 days. She also saw the rider's hands, shaking like he had been cold for hours. He was young but not a kid. His hoodie was deep blue, dark with rain. The foam in his helmet looked torn. The strap on his bag had a strip of old duct tape patching a split. She could turn and radio housekeeping and let the lobby clean itself. She could pretend she hadn't seen the guard flick the helmet. She'd keep the tour. Her stomach tightened in a hard knot she recognized from other rooms where she'd stayed quiet. She walked across the stone. Her flat squeaked on the wet patch. "That's enough," she said to the guard. Low and flat. The guard turned. Rain dotted his pressed blazer sleeve. A nameplate on his chest read HCR2Z. Policy, he said. The word was simple. He let it do the work. She stepped between them. She tilted her badge so the hallway scanner flashed green on it. "He's with me," she said. "He is my guest." The rider blinked, unsure. He tucked his chin like he was bracing for a hit that didn't come. She raised a hand toward the cafe. "Another bowl, please," she called. Same thing. The cashier froze with a paper boat in her hand. People stared. The manager at the counter started to shake his head. She pulled her wallet, tapped her card before anyone could say comp. The reader beeped. $17.42. It stung. It was her card, not the one with the building logo. She did not have a lot of room. She did it anyway. She held the door by the beige corridor. The sign said FDF only in block letters. "Come on," she said to the rider. He hesitated. She nodded once. He came through. "Ma'am, you can't," the guard said, reaching for the door. "Write me up," she said, and let the door close on his hand without pinching it. The latch clicked. The fluorescent light buzzed. Inside, the fluorescent light buzzed. The break room smelled like week-old coffee and lemon cleaner. A microwave hummed on a metal shelf, its plastic window stained with tomato sauce. A dented kettle rested next to a stack of paper cups. She tossed a folded blue towel from the supply shelf toward the rider. He caught it like he wasn't sure it was meant for him. He pressed it to his hair, then to his face. The door thumped open again and hit the guard's palm. He leaned into the frame. He kept his voice even. "We've had tenants complain," he said. "They don't want wet gear near their lunches. They don't want riders sitting in the chairs." She kept her voice even too. She pointed with her chin at a laminated sheet pinned to the corkboard. Her own words. "I wrote that. I can make an exception." The rider stood by the microwave, wet spreading from his cuffs, dripping into a dark grey mat. He watched the brand-new bowl spin, steam fogging the little window. He swallowed and kept his eyes down. The guard shifted his weight. A scuff showed on the toe of his shoe. The fabric at his knee was shiny with wear. "You make my job harder," he said. Last week a guy threw a fit when I asked him to leave. I was alone. She nodded like she heard him. Then she drew the line. No more dumping food, she said. Not in this lobby. Not on anyone. What is this? The general manager's voice cut from the hall. She filled the doorway in a blue suit, investors behind her like a small flock, umbrellas, notebooks, patient faces. She stood up straight. I let a delivery rider use the break room to eat, she said. We can continue the tour in a minute. The GM's mouth went thin. We are on the roof in 5, she said. She glanced at the investors, back at the guard. Why is there food all over my lobby? The guard kept his shoulders square. I was enforcing the policy, he said. He did not point at anyone. His eyes flicked down once toward the red oil on his cuff. The GM looked at the rider, then the microwave, then the investors. One investor lifted a brow and checked his watch. Another tilted her head like she was seeing if this was part of the show. Fine. The GM said you're off the tour. Her eyes flicked to the facilities manager. Meet me in my office after. We will address this. The hit landed. The facilities manager felt it in her chest. Nights. No bonus. Fewer chances to be seen. She watched the door close behind them and took a breath. The rider stood very still. The towel dripped. The microwave beeped. He didn't reach for the bowl until she nodded. She slid a chair out with the toe of her shoe. Sit, she said. He sat. He held the bowl with both hands and lifted steam to his face. She pulled a packet of plastic forks from a drawer. She set one at his elbow. He took it slow, like it might be a trick. She tore a stack of napkins and set them under the bowl to catch the drip. With her other hand, she pulled a small space heater from under the sink and angled it toward his legs. The cold slipped out of the room, inch by inch. He ate fast at first, choking once, coughing. Then, slower, like his stomach caught up. He rubbed his sleeve over his nose and then winced embarrassed. He focused on the food. She filled 2 paper cups with hot water from the kettle. The spout rattled. She dropped a mint tea bag in both. The room smelled like a clean mouth. She looked at his bag. The strap had a fresh split near the buckle. The duct tape patch was grey and peeling. Water leaked toward the zipper. She grabbed a roll of tape and a pair of scissors and set them next to his elbow. You can fix that before you go, she said. He nodded with his mouth full. He chewed. He swallowed. Thanks, he said. Voice raw, like he hadn't talked to anyone all morning. She slid a fruit cup across. No one in the room needed to know where it came from. He cracked the seal and ate the peaches in small bites. The syrup glistened on his glove. What's your next drop? She asked. He opened his bag to check. Inside sat a small white pharmacy bag with a blue logo. Under it, 2 brown envelopes and a plastic sleeve. His phone lay face down with a cracked corner. He moved things like a person who had practiced not losing anything. 6th floor, Tower B, he said. Then 17. Then the hospital. She pulled a visitor sticker from the drawer, wrote the date and a note. Escort allowed. Facilities. She stuck it on his hoodie. For the first one, she said. Go around the turnstiles. Take the service elevator on the right. He glanced at the door. The towel was now a sad, dark square on the table. Thanks, he said again, softer. She crouched and blotted the water on the floor with more napkins. The trash can swallowed the wad with the wrecked noodles. The smell of garlic and meat sat heavy for a moment and then thinned. She radioed housekeeping anyway. Wet cleanup by the café, she said. She did not add, I caused this. She did not add, I might do it again. She carried his helmet to the paper towel dispenser and turned the stiff brown roll. The foam had pulled away inside. She cut a strip of tape and pressed it down. It wasn't pretty. It would hold. He watched her hands. He flexed his fingers in the new gloves. They were a size too big. He didn't complain. Do you have gloves? She asked. He shook his head, then glanced at his hands and smiled at himself. I do now, he said. For a minute, the room was just the space heater hum and the drip of his sleeves onto the towel. The fluorescent light flickered once and kept going. That guy, he said finally. He's not always like that. She looked at the door. I know, she said. He gets yelled at by men with badges and men with suits. It sticks to him. Still. There's a line. He nodded like a person who had watched many lines move. He reached into his bag and pulled out a plastic sleeve folded in thirds. He didn't make a speech. He just set it on the table. Inside was a letter with a county hospital crest and a schedule with dates circled in yellow. The top page read Infusion Clinic. Patient instructions. He touched a date with one gloved finger. My mum, he said, today is day 3. She looked long enough to read the name and then looked away. She didn't touch the paper. She felt her mouth get hot. "Okay," she said, "don't be late." He slid the sleeve back into his bag like it was glass. He closed the flap. He took a breath. He set the empty bowl on the table like it might break. He stood. He rolled his shoulders back. He was the same person as when he came in, but he took up a little more space. They stepped back into the hallway. The building air was cool, dry, and exact. The lobby had been wiped. The red oil was gone. The lemon cleaner smell covered the last of the garlic. The guard stood at his podium, talking on his radio. He looked up when they came out. His eyes landed on the visitor sticker on the hoodie, then on her face. He did not look at the towel weakly dripping in her hand. "Cruz," she said. He nodded, wary. "Ma'am," he said. "I'll put together a note," she said. "About the break room, about exceptions." She held his gaze. No more food dumping. He shifted. Something in his shoulders dropped a notch. He glanced at the mop bucket outside the café, then back. "Understood," he said. "I'll tell the team." It wasn't surrender. It wasn't defiance. It was a place to stand. The rider slid through the revolving doors. The rain had eased to mist that floated instead of fell. He clipped his helmet, mounted, and merged with the grey street like a stitch. She climbed to the mezzanine. The GM's assistant sat outside the office with a tablet and a face that tried to be neutral. "She wants you now," the assistant said, not unkind. The office smelled like citrus diffuser and paper. The GM had her blazer off and her sleeves rolled. She rubbed the bridge of her nose with her thumb and forefinger. "We are selling an image," the GM said. "You know this. You wrote the rules. I need you to keep them." Today, she kept her hands in her lap. "I also need to keep the building human," she said. He was eating. It was raining. The GM's mouth twitched like she wanted to agree and didn't trust herself. "You are written up," she said, "and off the investor project. The elevator repairs are yours, nights, until it's done." The words felt like a door closing, not a slam. A push that clicked. Nights meant more hours. Less daylight. No bonus. A longer walk home if she missed the bus. "Understood," she said. She stood. She closed the door soft. Outside, the assistant gave her a small look that wasn't pity. That night she taped a hand-lettered sign to the break room door. "Short warm-up spot. Delivery riders welcome, please wipe wheels." She kept it small. No logo. Black marker. She placed a fresh rubber mat along the wall and a grey bin for wet umbrellas. She told housekeeping about it without making a memo. "Put a spare towel by the door," she said. "Swap it when it gets soaked." They shrugged and did it. They liked simple tasks that made sense. The next morning, a different courier with a red pack stood at the edge of the lobby like a stray cat. He saw the sign. He looked at the guard. The guard didn't move. The courier slipped to the door, heated a burrito, and left a wet footprint, shaped like a map. No one yelled. A tenant in a dark suit said, "Ha," in a neutral voice, and photographed the art instead. Cruz added an umbrella to his podium and handed it to a tenant who had misjudged the weather. She saw him do it from the mezzanine. "Bring it back," he said. Not unkind. The tenant did. 2 days later, she found a stack of paper cups and a big glass jar of decent tea on the break room counter. No note. The jar label matched the cafe's brand. She didn't ask. She filled a cup and left the jar where everyone could see it without thinking about it. The guard company sent a memo about de-escalation protocols. It arrived in her inbox like all such memos, with bullet points and soft verbs. She saw a printed copy taped straight on the podium. It wasn't there the week before. At the next tenant meeting, someone griped about wet floors near the break room. She answered with mops and mats. She kept her voice steady. She didn't say the words riders or poor or policy. She said towels. She said signage. People like objects when they are upset. The GM walked by the break room once, looked at the mat, looked at the towel, looked at the rider with his eyes on the clock, and kept walking. If she had a thought, she kept it. On a wet Friday, she spotted the same rider with the taped helmet slow near the door, look, and wheel in. He had a different bag now, red seams and less tape. He warmed a small container, sat for 5 minutes, and wiped his wheels without being asked. He nodded at Cruz. Cruz nodded back. At the podium, Cruz folded a napkin into a neat square and set it next to the sign-in sheet. He didn't make anyone use it. He just left it there. The elevator repairs took her into the building's bones. Night smelled like hot dust and old rubber. She learned the clanks and shivers of the car like a beat. She came home with cold fingers and oil under her nails. At 2 a.m., she poured tea into a paper cup and rested on a crate by the machine room door. Through the small glass square, she could see rain turning the alley into a mirror. The microwave light in the break room glowed a soft yellow behind her shoulder. She noticed small changes in how people moved. Housekeeping left the towel folded just so. The café kept a stack of forks near the microwave. The sign on the door got a splash and a smudge and stayed up anyway. Her radio chatter dropped one complaint and picked up one thank you that came out as that thing works. She thought the cost would feel sharp and bitter, like a door slammed. It didn't. It felt like the heavy click of a switch that should have been flipped the whole time. She wasn't a hero. She was a person with a badge and a choice and a little bit of tape. In the late light from the mezzanine, she watched the loading dock glow a square of yellow in the grey afternoon. 2 riders stood there out of the wind, steam lifting from their bowls under the microwave lamp. One lifted his hand in a small wave toward the glass. She lifted her tea back, and the square of light held.